Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to make this cute little mini shaker card, and we're also going to be using up some of our paper scraps. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with this die set. This is the nested rectangle die set from Art Impressions, and you can see you get tons of different sizes. These are great for layering and framing your cards. I'm going to grab that second largest one. I've got some Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock, and I'm going to run that through the die cutting machine. To use up some of the paper scraps I have, I'm using the Art Impressions paper pad. This is the Easter paper pack, and you can see you get all these beautiful double-sided papers, but I've got a ton of little scraps there that I wanted to use up. So I'm going to just grab a variety of these, and I'm going to cut them into strips. Now these are about 1/2 inch strips. And these are double-sided, so you get two colors on each strip, so you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to use. And I'm just laying these out, just trying to get a random variation of color. Now what's nice about using the paper scraps from your paper pads is pretty much everything will coordinate together, so you don't have to think about it too much. You don't have to dig around in all of your paper stacks. You can just grab the scraps left over from that one paper pad, and you know everything is going to coordinate nicely. Now I've got some 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and I'm just going to place these down. I want to make sure I start off nice and straight with that first one, and then I'll line that up at the top of that panel that we die cut earlier, and I'll go ahead and tape these now down. Now you could certainly use your glue here if you want a little time to move that around, and you could leave a space in between these sections. You could leave a little space there if you prefer that and have some of that white showing through. But for today's card, I'm just going to butt these up right against each other and just continue filling this in all the way down. So once I have that filled in, I had a little tiny gap here at the bottom. It's about 1/8. So I'm taking the 1/8 inch tape, I'm placing a little bit at the bottom. I'll place this last panel down, and then we'll go ahead and we'll cut away all of this excess. So that's just going to hang over the edges for a second here. And then let's flip this over, and I'm using my Tim Holtz 9.5 inch titanium shears to cut away the excess. That's going to give me a nice straight cut all the way down. Now if you have that tape, you'll obviously have to pull off those little pieces of scrap paper, and you may want to clean your scissors off when you're done. Although these are coated, so it's really easy to remove any kind of adhesives on the scissors. So here I'll just cut away that last little piece at the bottom. And now you can see this beautiful panel we have. This is just gorgeous. It looks kind of like quilting to me. You could even add some stitch marks there if you wanted to. So now I've got this pretty Pixie Dust cardstock from Fawn. This is a sparkle cardstock. And we're going to cut a layer for behind this panel. So I'm going back to those dies, and we use that second largest die. For this panel, we're going to use the largest die. I'll go ahead and glue this down. I'm using the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and this will leave a little, about a 1/8 inch border all the way around. Now let's grab this next stamp set. This set comes with a few dies for the balloons, for that little banner, and then there's a sentiment that says celebrate. And this is the birthday journal set from Art Impressions. This is one of the new sets in the watercolor series. And we're going to stamp that little tiny pup. I'm using the Staz-on Jet Black ink. This is a permanent black ink. And I'll go ahead and ink that up. I've placed some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock in my mini Misty stamping tool, and then I'm using the STAMPendable stamp press to press that out. Let's start the coloring with Tea Rose, Platinum Brown, and Light Gray. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, so these are a water-based pen. And for blending, I'm using the Zig Blender pen. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shadowing on this little pup, and this is the only coloring we have for this card, so this is a really simple and easy coloring card to do. I'm going to keep it fairly light in the center of this little pup. And if you have too much ink, you can just grab it off your image and scribble it onto your scrap paper until you just remove as much or as little ink as you like. I'm going back to that platinum brown, and then we'll blend this out. Again, bringing that color in towards the center of the face. Now I did lay down that tea rose on the cheeks first. I like to put the cheek color down first so that I don't forget to put it in. And then when I'm blending, I can kind of blend around that color a little bit. And then at the very end, I blend it in to that gray tone. I'll add a little bit more shadowing around the ears. And now I've got the lilac. I'm going to use that for the little collar. And tea rose for the little pom-pom on the top of the party hat. And then I'll just grab that aquamarine blue. I'll place some on either side of the hat, and then again pulling it in towards the center. So again, this is some really simple coloring. I've got my detail scissors, and I'm just going to cut this out. I'm not going to leave a white border. I'm going to cut right up to the edges. And then to finish that off, I'm using a black permanent pen, and I'm just going to go right around the edges to take away that white edge. Now I'm going to my Pitt Artist pen. This is again a permanent black pen. This is the 0.1 millimeter pen. And I'm going to go back over the eyes and the nose just to darken those up a little bit. Now I wanted to create a little scallop shaker for the card. And I also want to add a few little flowers. So I'm using this set here, which comes with all these really pretty dies. And this is from the Journal series. And this is called the Journal Oval Frame Set. And I will list and link all the products I'm using today down below and also on my blog. So let's go ahead and die cut this scalloped piece from some of that sparkle cardstock. And then for the flowers, again, I'm going back to my scrap papers, and I'm just going to die cut a whole bunch of different flowers. In the end, I only needed 3, but I think I die cut a half dozen or so. So again, I'm just using up these little scraps. So let's set that aside, and we can run these through the die cutting machine. But first, I'm going to take the nested circle dies, and I'm going to grab one that will fit inside this scallop circle. And again, you can see how many dies you get. There's just tons of them. I'm going to use my steel cutter, and that is a new product that's being carried by Art Impressions. And again, I'll list that below for you. And I've grabbed a circle that's going to fit right inside that scallop. So what we're going to do is create a frame for our shaker card. So I'm taping that down with a little bit of Post-it tape. That's just a temporary tape that'll hold this in place. And really, I'm taping the 2 dies together because we're going to die cut several of these frames. And I want them all to be exactly the same. So you can see I've left the dies connected together. And now I'm going to die cut several more of these out of the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. So by keeping these dies together, I can be sure that all of these frames will be exactly the same. So let's go ahead and die cut some more of these. And now I want to take a circle that's just a little bit larger than that one we used for the center. And that is going to be behind our shaker card. That's what you'll see when you look through the shaker card. So I've grabbed that next size up from that circle, and I'm going to go ahead and use that lavender polka dot paper for the background, and then I'll start die cutting some of those flowers as well. Now these die cut the flower and the center separately, so we won't be needing those little centers. We're going to use some little pearls to do that. And now you can see that little polka dot circle is going to fit right behind our frame. I've die cut all of those extra flowers, and now I also wanted to create a little vine to go around the bottom of the shaker card. So I've got the journal rectangle frames, and again you can see all these fantastic dies you get in this set. Well, we're just going to be using this one for today, and I'll die cut this several times. And I'm just using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, so this will be just white. I've got the Lawn Fawn clear acetate, and we're going to die cut another one of those scallop circles. We're not going to be cutting the center out of it this time because this will hold all of our shaker elements in place. So I'll run that through a couple of times just to make sure that I die cut completely through that acetate. And you can see that. Now next let's create the card base. This measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And I'm going to score that at 5.5 inches. So this will be a standard A2 size top folding card, and the finished card will measure 4 1/4 by 5.5. I'm just pressing that out with the bone folder. And now we can go ahead and add that panel to the front of our card. Again, I'm just going to use that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and that will give me a little time to make sure that I have this centered really well. Gives me a little time to move this around if I need to. So to get started with the shaker card, we're going to start with that circle that we cut. This is the lavender polka dot circle, and we're going to place that on the center of the card up towards the top. And again, that's what you'll see when you look through the shaker element. Now the next thing we want to do is stack up these circles, these circle frames. So I'm going to take that glue and place it all the way around the edges, and we'll glue several of these together. Now you do want to take into consideration how thick your embellishments are that you're placing inside the little shaker element. And mine were quite thick. I was using these pearls, and they're kind of tall. So when I laid this down just to check, I placed a couple pearls inside. I haven't glued anything down yet. I just want to check and see if I have enough dimension. And when I placed this pearl down in here, I could see that this wasn't going to be thick enough. So I need a few more layers of those frames. So off camera, I went ahead and I die cut a few more, I would say 2 or 3 more, and then I stacked those up. So you do want to check that before you place this together. And now I can go ahead and glue this right over that circle. Now for embellishments, I have these beautiful Buttons Galore and More Sparkletz embellishments, and I have the Mermaid and the Jellyfish. And I'm going to kind of mix these two packs together. I'm really going to be selective of what I pick out from these two packs. I want the lavenders and the pinks and some of the sparkly gems as well. So I went ahead and placed those inside. Now I've got my Pink and Main anti-static powder brush, and I'm placing a little bit on the acetate, and then I am wiping away any excess. I'm trying to take some of the static out of this. Now you'll see when I place this down that my embellishment, my little sequins are still sticking to it. So I decided to add a little bit more. And then again, I will wipe off some of that excess, so I'm trying to eliminate the static, so that when you shake the shaker card, everything doesn't stick to the top of the acetate there. So let's go ahead and add some glue all the way around the top of that frame. Now we can line up this acetate piece and glue that down. And now we can add that sparkly cardstock right over top. So that's going to give it a pretty sparkly top. And here I'm just checking to make sure it's lined up really well. So there's our little shaker element, and isn't that just so cute? I love that. I love the colors. So now I'm going to place down the little puppy, and I was going to use the glue, but sometimes the glue with the acetate, it gets a little messy, and once you get glue on the acetate, it's a little bit difficult to get it off. So I decided to use my 1/8 inch double-sided tape, and I'm just using my Cricut weeder tool just to pull the backing off of that tape. And then we'll just go ahead and attach this right to that acetate, and that'll hold it down nicely. Now again, I'm going to add some of these little sprigs that we cut out. Oops, that one got away from me, but I'm going to just glue that down. I'll glue one on either side, and then we'll just add a few more just to fill in. And the shape of these is nice. They're kind of on a little semicircle, so it's going to line up really nicely on this circle frame. Now I'm just putting glue down the center of these so you can fluff up the leaves a little bit when you're done. You can kind of push those up a little bit and give a little dimension. And you can see I'm doing that with the flowers as well, just using my finger to shape it just a bit, just to pop up those petals. And then we'll go ahead and glue these down. And again, I'm not adding the centers to these because we're going to be adding some little gems. I'm just picking out the colors that I like the best. And I thought these were pretty because they're kind of florally looking, so they have a lot. We don't have to color them in. They just have a lot of interest on their own. Now I'm taking one of those extra little sprigs and I'm going to add a few. I'm just going to fill in here just a little bit. And those are the extras that I had left over, so we can just set those aside for another project. And now I've got these little gems that I'm going to place down and fill in. So I've got a kind of a pink, a purple, and a sage green. And that really goes well with the cardstock that we've chosen. I'm just using my little pickup tool to pick those up, and again I'm using that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue these down. Now let's go back to this same set, and as I showed you earlier, you get that really nice Celebrate sentiment. So off camera I die cut that out of some of that same sparkle cardstock from Lawn Fawn, and then I've got some vellum paper. So this is just a clear vellum paper, and that's just a see-through paper, which is going to back this sentiment really nicely. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of the sentiment. I'm just putting little tiny dots of glue, and I'll just spread that out a little bit with my fingers. And then I'm gluing that down to the vellum paper. And then with my detail scissors, I'm just going to cut around this, and I'm just kind of randomly cutting around it. And I'll leave a little tiny border of that vellum all the way around. This just kind of gives it a little bit more of an elegant look, and I think just finishes this off really nicely. And I'm not being fussy, I'm just randomly cutting this just to create a little bit of interest. And you can see that up close. And now we can glue that to the front of the card. And what I'm going to do is place the glue behind the letters, because as you know, with vellum, it's really hard to glue it down without it showing. So here I can just hide the glue behind the letters and you'll never even be able to see that. So let's take a closer look at our finished card, and I just think this little puppy is so cute, and this little mini shaker. I just love the colors, and again, it's a great way to use up any of your scraps from your paper packs. Just really fun layering up those scraps. You could certainly put them on an angle or vertically or horizontally, whatever you prefer. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.